any other medical problems?
Right there.
No. Okay. You squat.
I think what he's having is a result of being exposed. Now, how do we remedy that situation is where we so desperately need medical professionals that know how to handle environmental exposure. I've had just tons of phone calls from people who lived along the beaches or people who went to the beaches on vacation. And in a lot of places there are hotels with swimming pools right on the beach. And then a lot of people who talked about they went swimming when, like, the officials in Mississippi told them it was all safe, and if the kids wore a white or a light colored bathing suit, they'd come out all stained black.
The fact that an oil spill can cause health effects would not be news to anyone, I think, in France or in Spain. There's an enormous amount of information in those governments because they had a couple of years ago and like about a decade ago, major oil spills on their coastlines, and the hospitals documented thousands and thousands of people having problems. And I'm sure there are innumerable government reports that were written in those countries about these things. And nobody in the U.S. seemed to want to learn from what Europe had learned in these to prepare and apply that here in the Gulf. So suddenly we're now in a situation where it's almost a surprise that there are health effects from the spill, instead of reaching out to knowledge that exists in other countries who also have had oil spill experiences, recent ones.
Κανείς δεν μπορεί να συνδέσει με απόλυτη βεβαιότητα τα προβλήματα υγείας κατοίκων του κόλπου με το πετρέλαιο της BP. Στα νοσοκομεία οι γιατροί είναι επιφυλακτικοί για πολλούς λόγους. Ενώ η πολιτεία μόλις πρόσφατα έδωσε το πράσινο φως για μια μεγάλη έρευνα σε δεκάδες χιλιάδες εργάτες και εθελοντές που συμμετείχαν στην επιχείρηση απορρίπανσης. Η περίπτωση του 22χρονου Πολ Ντούμ ήταν μια από τις πιο αμφιλεγόμενες μέχρι την ημέρα που βγήκαν τα αποτελέσματα των τοξικολογικών του εξετάσεων. Το ίδιο ίσχυε και για την περίπτωση του δίτη Steve Collian, που βούτυξε στον ωκεανό για να πάρει δείγματα της πετρελαιοκυλίδας και να βιντεοσκοπήσει τη μόλυνση 25 μίλια μακριά από το σημείο της διαρροής. Τα πιο ανησυχητικά στοιχεία όμως είναι τα αποτελέσματα των τεστ από ανεξάρτητους ερευνητές σε ψάρια, γαρίδες και άλλα θαλασσινά.
My name is Brent Ballet. I'm a charter boat captain, fisherman. I take clients fishing for redfish and speckled trout in our interior marshes here in South Louisiana. We're down South Pass, or coming down the South Pass of the Mississippi River, which is the furthest south tip of Louisiana, basically the mouth of the Mississippi River. We're going down to see what the cleanup operations associated with the oil spill, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, and we're going to go out to the beaches and see what the guys are doing out there. What we have here is one of their staging areas, the big boats and stuff. They bring all the equipment down, bring all the cleanup people down. The oil, we're not so worried about. The oil, I don't think would have had much of an effect on our fisheries at all. The dispersants, on the other hand, that they sprayed on the oil is more toxic. May have a little more or a lot more long-term effect on the fish. We really don't know. We're down on at the mouth of South Pass. This is one of the beaches that had gotten oil on it, and here right now we're looking at all these big marsh buggies up on the beach and excavators, and they're digging down a foot, 2 feet down into the sand to find the layers of oil that have been covered back up by fresh sand, and that way they can get the contaminated sand out.
Did you work for BP as well?
I did for 6 or 7 months now. I'm not working for them anymore, but we did a lot of work for them.
What kind of work did you do?
We did air monitoring.
How did you do that?
Some type of little machines that had different sensors in it that would detect different stuff, different chemicals. This is one of the only spots that they actually had some hydrogen sulfide gas that was in the sand down here, so they really had to be careful when they were working in this area to stay away from the bad spots.
Did you have to wear special suits or
no
respirators or things like that?
Nope, the air was good. You know? I sat there and looked at the monitors and the little machines all day, every day while we were out here, and I didn't have anything for me to really worry about. It, you know, no whistles went off, no bells, no red flashing lights. Yeah, I feel like it was safe to breathe.
Have you heard of any stories?
I did. Some of the fishermen right after it happened had some respiratory problems and stuff like that, and I don't know.
It was the air emissions from the dispersed oil that was made into an aerosol was severe from New Iberia, Louisiana, all the way through the panhandle of Florida. A large number of humans, the ones on the shore that were impacted by the aerosol that came in, who had absolutely nothing to do. They weren't fishers, they weren't workers doing the cleanup. All the way across the coast, at least 1 million, maybe 1.5 million people are just on the coast. And then the workers is just like maybe 500,000 to 600,000 workers. And from the day one that they went out and were employed by BP or their contractors, they became ill by coming in contact with the crude and the dispersants. They're telling me they have rashes, they have they have chest pains, they have respiratory, burning eyes, skin that's all full of welts, and blood in their urine, just a whole host of health impacts. And yet they desperately need those jobs and they go back out to work. If you talk to the workers, they will say they were not allowed to wear protective gear or respirators because they didn't want it to look like the work they were doing and the chemicals they were in contact with were dangerous.
I was one of the workers that actually worked with volunteers, and I went through some of the training with BP, and it was quite interesting what they would tell us. And when we would be around weathered oil, that the percentage of contaminants in the air were going to be low enough that we wouldn't need any protective gear.
During the signing of the contract, in the small print, it was stated that if you were seen or if you were purchased a respirator, you would be fired on the spot.
Was it a matter of bad image in the media?
Correct. I think that they felt like if you have a respirator on in an area, then that there's a possible liability for them. If there's nothing on, then they're sending a message that everything is okay. So the price that people paid is I would get incredible calls from the fishermen who were out on vessels. They were vomiting, they were dizzy, they could hardly stand up, they had chest pains. It was unbelievable. They couldn't believe that they weren't provided with gear that would protect them.
While I was working there, after about a week or so, I started having issues with my eyes. My eyes would water a lot, they would burn. I was very sensitive to light. I couldn't even see in a 40-watt lamp bulb.
Did you see a doctor?
Yeah, I actually did go see an eye doctor. I went to tell her exactly my symptoms, and she goes, before I could answer, she said, well, were you working for BP? And I was like, well, yeah. How did you know? She's like, well, I've seen this before. This has been associated with fishermen or people that work in the oil business.
Do you know other people that have similar or other kinds of problems?
Yeah, recently I've come across some people that I'm friends with that have been telling me some chronic problems. One said he had the flu for 3 weeks like he's never had before. I'm regretful and hesitant to call him up and say, dude, you may have chemical pneumonia.
My name is Steve Colian. I'm an environmental scientist. I'm the director and founder of ecorigs.org. Prior to the spill, those platforms were just loaded with fish.
And after?
They slowly started dying. On day 17 when we went out there, everything still looked pretty healthy. And then on day 90, all those organisms started to show mortality, and when I would grab them, they would just fall right off the pilings.
Because of the lack of oxygen?
It was probably the ingestion of these toxic organic materials like ethylbenzene. I have ethylbenzene in my body right now at a toxic level.
How do you know that? When did you have the first symptoms?
I been experiencing symptoms for about 2-3 months, and I just got my results back yesterday, and I'm about 3 times greater than the danger threshold. So I've got to detoxify myself. I'm really high for ethylbenzene and
in your blood?
Yes, in my blood. And I'm very high for MP xylene. It's just a constituent of Corexit and crude oil. Ethylbenzene is carcinogenic. It attacks the liver, the kidneys. I have internal bleeding right now. A friend of mine who I dove with on every occasion has the same levels as I do. It's coming out of his nose every day, and it's coming out of his bowels every day. I just have it coming out of my bowels every day.
Some of the components of crude oil, individual components, are known human carcinogens, class 1, if you will, from IARC. And some examples would be some of the volatile organic compounds, such as benzene. We know benzene causes leukemia, a major cause of leukemia. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, benzoate pyrene is an example. And others. Heavy metals such as arsenic and cadmium are contained in crude oil. Those are Class A human carcinogens.
It came through my skin. It came through inhalation. I breathed it in. And then also one time I almost drowned out there, and I swallowed a bunch of it. Swallowed about a gallon of seawater and oil and dispersants.
Are you scared?
Yo, I am concerned. I'm very concerned. Especially if my internal organs stop functioning. From what I understand, those workers that in the Exxon Valdez